Hello, everybody, and welcome to my review of Atomic Blonde, starring Charlize Theron and James McAvoy, and directed by David Leitch, or David Litch. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but he was also a co-director on the first John Wick, and now he's directing this movie all by himself. And it has a lot of the same sensibilities as the John Wick movies, which I'll go into as I get farther into the review. And let's just start right off the bat in saying this was a pretty good movie. I liked it a lot. It wasn't perfect. No movie's perfect, and I'll go into those things too. But just to start off with, let's take it straight from the plot. Charlize Theron plays an MI6 agent, Lorraine Broughton. I think her name is Broughton. I just saw the movie today, and I don't remember what her last name was, but I know the first name was Lorraine. But she goes to Berlin during the Cold War in the 1980s to investigate the murder of another agent, and also to recover this list of names of double agents. And that's the basic setup, and I'll stop there because if I say anything more, it might go off into spoiler territory. And Charlize Theron herself, this is a great performance by her. She does a good job handling the action and, the emotional stuff she has to do in this movie. Although, her character is not a very, outwardly emotional character, as I don't think most spies, I don't think you could be if you were a spy. You got to keep things kind of close to the vest. So, she does good with that. If you allow yourself to feel too much as a spy, I don't know if you'd be a very good spy. And a lot of times it's very, adrenaline rush, right? You just focus on the mission and, you got to table the emotions and just get the job done. I got a lot of that from her character, as I think, she was supposed to do, and that was great. One critique I'll have with her performance, though, is that, she's supposed to, be undercover as a British lady and have a British accent, but I didn't think her British accent was that good. Charlize Theron is originally, I think she's South African, but when you hear her talk in interviews and stuff, she sounds like, an American lady. And Americans, most of us, aren't very good at, British accents. And I thought she tried really good, and, she did better than I could do, but she still didn't sound like, a real, 100%, authentic British lady. And, that is my only critique with her performance, really. I thought she handled the action really well. And I think this is a good movie for her. She's someone who's been acting for a long time, and I think, she's over 40, but she still has a great career. And she's a good, role model for actresses in an industry that is supposed to be, from what I've heard, very anti-female, or, anti-letting women age in front of the camera. And the fact that she still has a career and a thriving career starring in all these movies is great. And I think this is good for her, especially post Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, a lot of the media hype around Wonder Woman is that, it could be this renaissance or this good thing for female characters and actresses in action movies and movies in general, mainstream movies. And so, this coming out basically right after Wonder Woman is pretty good. And also, we'll see, though, if this is a mainstream hit. I mean, it's a good movie, but it's definitely not going to make as much money as Wonder Woman is, because Wonder Woman's a big superhero movie. And this movie might be kind of niche. It's just like John Wick, so it'll probably make about as much money as, that would have made, and that's not a Wonder Woman kind of blockbuster. But moving on to the action, one of the big selling points of this movie, what they've really, emphasized a lot in the trailers and a lot of the advertising campaign leading up to its release, has been that there's going to be action in this movie. And they were right. They didn't deceive you. There's a lot of action in this movie. And while it's good and Charlize Theron is a super spy, the action in the movie was it was good, but it was, I guess, more realistic. People, they got injured. They would, after fighting for, a certain amount of time, when they would get knocked on the ground, they seemed tired or would struggle to get up because, when you've been fighting someone really intensely for a long time, I mean, it's not like, you're going to be all like this all the time. You got to, rest and breathe and get back up again. I felt like a lot of that was good, and that the choreography was great. It was just like the John Wick choreography. I only saw John Wick 2, I have to confess. But this seemed a lot like John Wick in the choreography, and the fact that it was good, but also realistic to, I think, the way people would actually move and act in these kind of fight scenes. And the choreography was good. There was this one scene near the end where Charlize Theron had to fight, a bunch of different people, and I think it was done in just one take, if I'm remembering correctly, or very few takes. And I think it was a really great job by the director, the cinematographer, the choreographer, everyone involved to do, a scene with all these different people doing all these, movements against each other in one or very few takes. It was a testament to the fact that these people are professionals and they know exactly what they're doing. And if you're a fan of action choreography and action in movies, you're going to be pleased with this scene. But all this action scenes are good. I don't want to say that, that was the only good scene in the movie. All the action scenes are very good. You'll be pleased. One critique I will have, though, with another critique I have with the movie is, this movie is about, spies and espionage and all that double-crossing stuff. And sometimes I felt that, I've seen a lot of movies like that, but I have to admit they're not really my favorite kinds of movies because, and maybe it's just because I'm slow, sometimes the plots for movies like that are kind of hard to follow because it's all about, this person's double-crossing this person and, this scene was set up in a certain way where if you weren't watching it closely, you'll be confused about what happens later. And audience members are supposed to be paying attention to the movie they're watching and be invested in the plot. But I feel like a lot of times the reason that spy movies maybe sometimes appeal to more of a smaller niche audience is because they can be kind of hard to follow. Maybe it's just me. I mean, I understood the basic plot, but some of the intricacies and this person was secretly that person, all that kind of stuff, I was like, I was kind of scratching my head or I would forget or like lose track. Another critique I have with the movie, I mean, it's a good movie, but it's one of those movies that hits the ground running so well. It's like it immerses you in the gray area of spy life that these people live in, that I don't think a lot of times it takes time for you to get to know or care about these characters that much. I will admit that there was one death in the movie that I did, care. A lot of people die in this movie, but there was one death in the movie that kind of affected me, and I didn't expect it to. And this is a character that actually didn't get that much development in terms of until the end of the movie. This character, they revealed had a family and all this kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden, because this is the kind of movie that person was murdered. And I was kind of like, oh man, that person got, died. I didn't want that to happen. And, given the fact that there wasn't that much character development throughout anyone, throughout this movie, the fact that was one character that affected me, is a testament to how good the screenwriting and directing was, because I wasn't expecting to care at all about anybody's death in this movie. But it's one of those, some movies, they take time to set up or introduce you to the characters first before they get into the nitty-gritty stuff to help you care. This movie doesn't do that. It's like, it just starts with the action, and if you develop any kind of closeness or affection for any character, it's more because you just spend a lot of time with them versus the movie actually taking time to purposely make you, see who they are. And maybe it's because it was about, it's about the spy life, and the whole point, from what I gather, the whole spy world is to, conceal who you are, keep your cards close to the vest, because, if you let people know your vulnerabilities or who you are, that could be weakness or expose you to stuff. So maybe that was part of what it was. Spies are supposed to be cold, they're hard, and, hard shells to crack. And so maybe that was it. Maybe it is hard to do that in a spy movie. And so I'll give the director and the screenwriters a pass in that regard. It's not like they're writing movies about people who are open books and easy for you to learn who they are and care about them. They're making a movie about people whose whole job is to keep themselves at a distance from people around them, in a personal way. And beyond that, the cinematography was very good, very stylized. Well, actually, this movie takes place in the 1980s, and I felt that in terms of the way it was produced, they really wanted to heighten that. It doesn't look like an 80s movie in terms of production values, but it has like a lot of, colored lights and neon kind of stylings in certain scenes to emphasize, one of the most famous things about the time period it took place in, with the whole like day glow neon thing. That's definitely like throughout the movie in different parts to emphasize the fact that this is an 80s, period piece, basically. And also the soundtrack, there's a lot of 80s songs throughout, and that emphasizes the whole ambiance. Good 80s songs. They didn't just pick any 80s songs. They picked, some of the most popular ones, the top Billboard, chart kind of songs, to emphasize that feeling of nostalgia and to really plant you firmly in this world. And they did a good job in that respect. And all in all, I think Atomic Blonde is a very good movie. If you like, gritty kind of action, or more, I guess, street, real world kind of action, I guess I'll say, as opposed to, bombastic superhero kind of action. Yeah, I guess basically if you like John Wick, you'll like Atomic Blonde. There's similarities. I know John Wick is an assassin, and Charlize Theron is a spy, and those are two different kinds of jobs. But they can be, related. I mean, assassins and spies kind of operate in the same circles, and there's a lot of crossover there. And so there's a lot of things going on, in here that was in John Wick, the John Wick series. And if they continue Atomic Blonde as a franchise, if this movie makes enough money, I'm curious to see if, the next one will be in the 80s too, or if they'll go to the 90s and then use like 90s songs and 90s stylings. And then, in the 2000s, early 2000s, if they'll do the same thing then. It'll be curious to see where they go with this movie. It'll all depend on how much money it makes. So we'll see. I think, the best thing a movie can have going for it is that it can be a good movie. Then people will actually want to see it. Not that every good movie makes a lot of money and a lot of good movies that tank. But, Atomic Blonde is a good movie, and so that means it's got that going for it. We'll see what its opening box office is and if they make more. But that's my review for Atomic Blonde. I recommend you see it. It's a good movie. And if you want to hear me talk more about movies and TV shows and comic books and all that good stuff, please subscribe. Please like and comment and share this video to help me out a little bit. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.